Chapter 243. After entering the Luo residence, Jingwan and Li Hongyuan separated. Li Hongyuan might not have the patience to deal with the other members of the Luo family, but he had to give Jingwan time to talk to her family. If he did not give her time, he would probably really make his wife hate him. His experience was different, and he was at a different level from his peers. Problems that were difficult for others to solve might be child's play in his eyes. Therefore, whether it was Jingwan's brothers, his brother-in-law, or even Jingwan's father, it was fine for them to talk about romantic affairs. If they talked about important matters or the current situation, others would argue in full swing, and he would probably be so bored that he wanted to sleep. In these matters, Luo Peishan was probably the only one in the Luo family who could keep up with his pace. Unfortunately, he was not here. In addition, Jingwan's grandfather could more or less say a few words, but that old man knew that he was not qualified to talk to Li Hongyuan with the attitude of an elder, and there were only juniors here, so he did not join in the fun. Therefore, everyone slowly stopped talking. They would not think that Li Hongyuan felt that it was too simple and did not want to talk, but only that he did not understand. Therefore, it was inevitable that they would look down on him more and more in their hearts. Especially Luo Rongyin. He was very indignant in his heart. How could his daughter marry such a person? But he did not think about himself and how he had improved. Jingwan's uncle and others, because they did not know the situation, only thought that Li Hongyuan was a noble and did not bother to talk to them. On the contrary, they were more restrained and unrestrained, adhering to the principle of using more ears and less mouth. However, no matter how much they had opinions about Li Hongyuan, they did not dare to show the slightest bit. But what kind of person was Li Hongyuan? With such obvious emotions, he did not need to guess or look to know what they were thinking. Luo Peishan was a sly old fox, and he was very capable. However, he could not train his sons well. In order to give his wife a strong family, he had to let him train his brothers-in-law well. After a few years, they would be able to use them. Therefore, the grandchildren of the Luo family had gradually been subjected to the high-pressure policies of their grandfather. In some unknown place, there was an even more tragic homework waiting for them. Changing the topic, this side was still harmonious and harmonious. Jingwan's side naturally didn't need to be said. Luo Laoforan didn't directly ask whether Jingwan was well or whether Jin Qinhuang treated her well. Whether someone was good or bad could often be seen with one's eyes. It was even more obvious on Jingwan. She hadn't put on any makeup, so everything could be seen at a glance. Furthermore, it was rare for newlyweds to have a bad relationship. Basically, it belonged to the type of newlyweds where the husband already had someone in his heart or by his side. The marriage was not out of his heart. He would subconsciously or even deliberately neglect his wife, which would make the grandaunt's face sad when she returned home. The Luo family's parents were strict, so the probability of this happening to the married girls was very low. Whether it was Jingwan or Luo Laoforan, they didn't want to create an atmosphere of not being a family. When Jingwan returned to the Luo family, she was still a member of the Luo family and not a guest. Under the deliberate efforts of the two, the estrangement caused by the change in status of Jingwan gradually disappeared. They still treated her as their family's third girl, still treated her as a good younger sister and elder sister. Even if she became a Wang Fei, this did not change. The group of little people happily opened their gifts. In addition to the gifts that were specially prepared for them, there was also a large pile of various toys. From the small things that they could only hold firmly when they were a few months old, to the big things that they could find in their early teens, they could find things that they liked. Rich and colorful, there were all kinds of things that they had never seen before. It could be seen that the source of these things was very wide. Your Highness is so considerate. Jingwan smiled, but didn't say anything. Could she say that these things actually had nothing to do with a certain king of hell? It was accumulated by the loyal and dutiful eunuch Mu. For the sake of the future young heir and young princess of the Luo family, he started a few years ago. It could be said that he worked as a personal attendant and a head steward, worrying about his mother's heart. Jingwan originally thought that things for children should be mainly toys, but then eunuch Mu very flatteringly presented his treasures. On the other hand, Madame Wang and the others felt that these things were too expensive and a little bit afraid to accept them. Not to mention, Jingwan's maternal grandmother, who received the same things as Luo Laoforan, felt that it was even more troublesome. Luo Laoforan waved her hand. Just accept it as a gift. Mother-in-law, take it as a filial piety from Jingwan as your granddaughter. Her awareness was much higher than Jingwan's. Jingwan didn't say anything. Since her grandmother felt that there was no problem, why should she blindly worry? It was said that the hand that received gifts was short, especially the womenfolk of the Luo family. Big and small, the good things that they received from Jingwan were not few in number. When they treated her, they would naturally be more eager and careful. Luo Laoforan dismissed them all, including Zhang Shi and her daughter. Grandparent and grandchild chatting was a daily routine in the past. Although she was assured of Jingwan, and it seemed that Jin Qinhuang's enthusiasm for Jingwan didn't show any signs of fading, but the worry in her heart wouldn't disappear because of this. The most important point was, Wan, you are still young. If possible, give birth to another child in 2 years. Between husband and wife, it's best to be open and say it directly. Don't hide it. Many things are because you don't say it, causing some irreconcilable misunderstandings. About the child, Wang Ya also said that my body's bones haven't grown yet. Let's wait for 2 more years. As for the other things, grandmother can rest assured. I know what to do. In fact, there was nothing to know. Some things couldn't be controlled by humans. That's good. Also, Jin Qinhuang is not as bad as the rumors say. Don't listen to what others say, especially people related to you. You should feel and experience it yourself, and not listen to what others say. Jingwan took Luo Laoforan's arm. Grandmother, don't worry. I know. Don't worry about me. You have to take care of yourself and live a long life. Not only do you have to watch me give birth, but also watch my child grow up and start a family. Then wouldn't I become an old witch? Luo Laoforan laughed. What's wrong with being an old witch? How many people want to be like that? I won't say anymore. Your future path, you have to walk on your own. Those flowers and plants in Begonia House, when you go back today, take them back to the Wangfu. Leave them in the Luo family to ruin. That's fine. It wasn't that she didn't want to leave them, but the flower slaves were always careful and raised too carefully. They didn't grow as well as those in her hands. Those were her treasures. It's just that grandfather will be sad. Why do you care about him? You don't have the ability to take care of them, but you still pretend. Jingwan chuckled and remained silent. This was the fun of the old couple. Jingwan left Luo Laoforan's place and went to see her mother. Her grandmother was also in Luo Mei house. When Madame Zhang saw Jingwan, she was like a flood breaking through the dike. Ever since she knew that she was actually very incompetent as a mother, she didn't think about how to improve their relationship. Instead, she cried more and more. It seemed that as long as she cried, everything could be remedied. As a result, she became more and more sentimental. She became more and more sorrowful, which made her more poetic. Except that the husband and wife became more and more congenial. She was almost completely hopeless. When Jingwan saw Madame Zhang like this, she had the urge to turn around and leave. Jingwan's grandmother was also angry. Before her daughter got married, although she was a little sad, it was only a little. After she got married, she would definitely get better. After all, a girl in the boudoir was completely different from a married woman. But now, she was getting worse and worse. Not to mention the daughter who had been separated for a few years. Even the son who was by her side seemed distant and polite to his parents. Didn't this pig's brain notice it? If Jingwan knew what her grandmother was thinking, she would probably tell her that her mother's brain was filled with her father. As long as she had her father, she would probably be able to spend a lifetime with him. Now that her father seemed to have changed his mind about women, wasn't it worse? Madame Zhang was suppressed by her mother. Jingwan and the old lady had a good talk, and the relationship between them became a lot closer. Finally, Jingwan thought about it and opened her mouth. Both uncles are good. Grandmother and grandfather don't need to worry. Not to mention a meteoric rise, but to revitalize the family is still possible to continue the Zhang family. The old lady stared blankly and immediately understood Jingwan's meaning. She almost cried, "Good, good, good. Our family has benefited from Wan's glory. In the future, in the future, grandmother, we are all one family. Moreover, the main thing is that both uncles are good." The old lady was very clear about Jingwan's meaning. If there was a problem, she would never help. Your two uncles are definitely good. If there is a bad one, your grandfather and I will break their legs. Grandmother's words are too serious. After the old lady was happy, she hesitated. Wan just got married. Is it not good? Grandmother doesn't need to worry. It's fine. She and Jin Wang just got married. It was the same and different from other people. She only sought some benefits for her relatives within a reasonable range. She didn't feel that it was inappropriate. If the distinction was too clear, it would seem estranged. The people of the present world talked about the good of two surnames and the binding of common interests. Jingwan bid them farewell and left. However, before she could find Sunny Jia and the others to talk to, she had already coincidentally met quite a few people. She was getting married. Other than the Zhang family, there were also some relatives in the residence. Whether it was out of curiosity or with ulterior motives, they were basically taking the place of the fallen, one after another. Now, Jingwan just wanted to find a quiet place to hide. Therefore, when Jingwan saw the black brocade-robed, cold-faced king of hell, it was as if she saw her savior. Li Hongyuan's aura was too strong. The average person really didn't have the guts to get close. Wang ya. Jingwan knelt down to greet him. Li Hongyuan reached out and pulled her closer. You and I are husband and wife. There is no need to be so polite. Etiquette cannot be discarded. Why did Wang Ye come to the Hoyuan? Want to see the place where Wang Fei used to live. So, this concubine will take Wang Ye around. Jingwan lightly smiled. But this pretentious way of getting along with each other made some familiar people feel their stomachache. But in the eyes of those who didn't know, these two people pretended to be very stylish. They were worthy of being the descendants of the heavens. There were no outsiders. Li Hongyuan laughed and scratched Jingwan's nose. Since you don't want to deal with it, just ignore it. In any case, you are related by blood. The other person didn't do anything excessive. At the very least, etiquette is still needed. Do you think everyone is like you? You just became a Wang Fei, and you're already high and mighty. You are also damaging the imperial family's face. Marry a husband and follow the husband. If Wan doesn't want to pay attention to someone, then there is no need to pay attention to them. Jingwan gave him a small, supercilious look. Inside the begonia house, Jingwan began to tidy up the flowers and plants. Some of them needed to be dug up again. Facing the lush Wei Zi, Li Hongyuan's expression didn't look very good. He knew very well where this thing came from. Leave this peony here. In the backyard of the prince's mansion, there are all 4 famous flowers. Jingwan was surprised. She didn't expect this person to collect flowers and plants. But it doesn't matter if there is one more. The Luo family painstakingly raised you. Why are you not even willing to leave behind a rare flower, so that your grandfather can have something to remember? Last year, he showed off a lot of your flowers and plants. This year, you didn't even have a single rare flower. He will scold you for being ungrateful. Li Hongyuan righteously lectured. Jingwan was a little confused. Was this the man who gave her all the good things? The change in style was a little too fast. Jingwan looked at him. No, there was a problem. Your Highness, just say it. Why don't you let me take it away? Li Hongyuan's face darkened. What did his wife mean? Was she talking to him like this because of a peony? Or was it because this peony was given by Sun Yilin, so she couldn't bear to part with it? These roots of trouble should all be chopped off. Jingwan was very curious. What was going on? She was just asking for the reason. Why did his face darken? If you like it, this prince will have people help you get it from other places. You can have as many as you want. Forget about this one. Know why? Your Highness, give me a reason. There is no reason. Li Hongyuan flung his sleeves and went back into the room. Jingwan was stunned. What was going on? He fell out with her just like that? Jingwan was a little annoyed. Princess Consort, does His Highness know where this peony came from? Nurse Gong faintly reminded her. Where it came from? Jingwan belatedly realized that this man was jealous. She remembered that he wanted to kill her directly in the past. Jingwon didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Nurse Gong, how can a man like him be so childish? He's clearly making trouble for no reason. Moreover, it's just a matter of a sentence. He could just say it directly. Why is he still making trouble with me? Nurse Gong was also incompetent at ridiculing him. He probably doesn't want to talk about that young Master Sunday. Jingwon facepalmed. Was there a need to avoid it like this? Am I such a person in his eyes? Jingwon only felt very wronged. She just couldn't bear to part with this flower. What did it have to do with the person who gave it to her? She didn't think about this at all. His Highness knows that Princess Consort isn't such a person. His Highness is purely using this as a pretext to make a fuss and ask for benefits from you. Should I say that Nurse Gong is indeed a shrewd person? You can even tell. Jingwon ridiculed. It's His Highness himself. It's not the first time he's done this. Chapter 244. It's Prince himself. It's not the first time he's done something like this. Nurse Gong said with a straight face. That's right, it's not the first time he's done something like this. Forget it. No matter what, he's my husband. We're going to spend the rest of our lives together. It's not like we're just friends on the surface. No matter how precious these flowers are, it's impossible for them to surpass him. She reached out to touch a leaf near the peony. Just leave this Wei Zi here. Someone will take care of it. It's just that the jar of vinegar is jealous to this extent. Right now, he doesn't like flowers given by other people. She can't let it develop to the point where he's hostile towards everything that occupies his time. Speaking of which, Jingwon was just casually thinking about it. Who knew that? Jingwon entered the room. A certain person was very familiar with her room. Right now, he acted as if nothing had happened. He pretended to flip through a book, as if the content of the book was too fascinating. He didn't notice that Jingwon had entered at all. Who was this childish brat? Jingwon was helpless and amused. She walked in front of him twice, but there was still no reaction. Jingwon raised her brows. She turned to leave, but a certain person threw the book in his hand away. He grabbed her wrist and pulled her into his arms. He clasped her chin, his eyes filled with ruthlessness. You're this insincere and impatient? Is a lousy flower more important than this prince? Do you believe that this prince won't burn it down? For those who didn't know or had just interacted with him, Li Hongyuan's behavior was very frightening. However, they had interacted before the engagement, and after the engagement, they interacted even more frequently. Moreover, he had treated her differently from the start. It wasn't like he didn't reveal his frightening and ruthless side in front of her. She had even seen him kill people like the god of death. At first, she might have been afraid, but after a while, the angry Li Hongyuan was no different from a paper tiger in Jingwon's eyes. Jingwon looked at him and suddenly laughed. Li Hongyuan's gaze became even more malicious. Is this prince a joke in your eyes? Jingwon suddenly leaned forward and pressed her lips against his. Li Hongyuan's hostility melted like ice and snow, quickly disappearing. He held Jingwon's waist with one hand and the back of her head with the other. He deepened the kiss until Jingwon struggled and gasped for breath. Then he let go of her. He rubbed her lips with his thumb until Jingwon grabbed his mischievous hand. Their eyes met, and something seemed to be burning in them. Jingwon was actually reflecting on herself. This man was undoubtedly good to her. Although she wasn't 100% sure, she was 90% sure that she wasn't a substitute. His feelings for her were inexplicable, but they were real. Even if it was an act, to be able to act to this extent, it wouldn't make anyone feel indifferent. Right now, she couldn't reciprocate his feelings, but in other areas, she could still treat him a little better. For example, if it was something that he didn't like, but wouldn't touch her bottom line, then there was no harm in giving it a little. Yuan, women should be reserved. She was moved for less than 3 seconds. Jingwon's face cracked. Reserved? You should be reserved for this great aunt to see. Jingwon pushed his hand away and angrily got up to leave. Li Hongyuan chuckled, all his anger gone. The flowers and plants that Jingwon was going to take away had already been packed. There were quite a lot of people at the luncheon. Li Hongyuan naturally sat at the head of the male guest table, and Jingwon also sat at the head of the female guest table because of her status. Although there were some things that she did not want to change, she had to change them. There was nothing to be conflicted about, just let nature take its course. An ordinary son-in-law would definitely be forced to drink at this homecoming banquet. But now, naturally, no one dared to do so. However, the Zhang family probably already knew about Jingwan's promise from old Madame Zhang, so they mustered up the courage to toast Li Hongyuan. Li Hongyuan also gave them face and drank it all. As for the others who followed suit, Li Hongyuan directly refused. Therefore, it was enough to make people feel flattered. Since he refused, then so be it. After the luncheon, Li Hongyuan left the Luo family because his wife refused to accompany him and he was bored. However, Jingwan and the others naturally asked him to move their treasures back first. Their attitude was too natural. Jingwan did not feel that there was anything wrong. Li Hongyuan nodded and asked people to go to Begonia House to move their things. He also did not feel that there was anything wrong. In the eyes of others, it was different. Even if it was an ordinary husband and wife, there was no wife ordering the husband around, let alone in the imperial family. Everyone's gaze towards Jingwan was a bit subtle. Should it be said that she had the skill to control her husband? Jingwan was baffled by their gaze, but no one brought it up. Jingwan spent the afternoon in the Luo family. When it was close to evening, Jean Wangfu's carriage came to pick her up. It was not the previous Wangfu's ceremonial procession. It did not look as imposing, but was far less luxurious than the average family. Everyone sent her off. Facing the greetings of her relatives and elders, Jingwan slowly took a breath and endured it. Moreover, she could not open her mouth to let them go back first. They must watch her carriage leave before they would turn around. Jingwan was helped into the carriage. Just as she entered, Wang, yeah, why are you here? Naturally to pick you up. To be able to ask such a question, it could be seen that his daughter-in-law was not that intelligent. Forget it, she was already married to him, so there was no need to dislike her. He would just slowly train her. Some things had to be slowly learned. The people outside did not hear what was said afterwards. Regardless, Jean Wangfu, who had left after the lunch banquet, specially came to pick her up at this time. It was enough to see how much importance Jean Wangfu attached to his Wangfei. All right, seeing that you are good to our family's Gunyang, we will forgive your ignorance. The Luo family's elders and young masters all simultaneously expressed such thoughts. When there were no outsiders, Li Hongyuan always liked to hold her. Jingwan was already used to it. As for the people who served by her side, to put it nicely, they were treated as their own people. To put it bluntly, Li Hongyuan did not care about them at all. Thinking about it, the power of these people's life and death was in their own hands. They were no different from other properties. In Li Hongyuan's eyes, they were probably just decorations that could move and do things. Jingwan quietly nestled in his arms. While playing with his fingers, she talked about the matters of her maternal family. It's a small matter. I will arrange it. Li Hongyuan paused for a moment. Don't worry. It won't go through your grandfather. Once you marry into the prince's mansion, there will be people who want to curry favor with you. It's a matter of course for them to casually arrange jobs for your uncles. Although your grandfather is now in a high position, he is also walking the path of a pure official. Everything is done according to the official's rules. This kind of private matter is not easy to start, and once it starts, it is not easy to finish. This is a matter of fawning on several sides. As long as there is a bit of maneuvering, there will be many people willing to help. In any case, they are all insignificant and small officials. They can't cause any waves. And with Wang Ye, this great Buddha, supporting them, no matter where my uncles are, there will be people looking after them. They don't have to worry about being bullied. Biaoge and the others can also study well. Jingwan chuckled. And this great Buddha, can shelter you from the wind and rain, no problem. It was more than no problem. It couldn't be better. If you can help, help. But if you do something wrong, Wang Ye doesn't need to let others take responsibility. No matter what, they can't be more important than you. Although the last few words were almost inaudible, Li Hongyuan was still in a good mood. This was probably the most romantic words that Wan had ever said. It was really a good sign. After returning home, the bride officially became a member of the husband's family. But she didn't have any special privileges. She had to cook, wash her hands, make soup, and serve the old and young of the family. Of course, this was for ordinary people. For Jingwan, this was useless. Whether or not Jingwan knew how to cook, Li Hongyuan would not let her cook. However, Jingwan could officially take over the Wangfu. In the flower pavilion, many stewards of the Wangfu were already there. They stood respectfully with their heads lowered, waiting for the arrival of their mistress. These people had long been used to there being no mistress in the Wangfu, and the power was in their hands. Because there was only one mistress in the Wangfu, there were only a few people who could serve her closely. The others, including the stewards present, might not be able to see her even once in a year. The mistress was rich and not stingy. As long as she wasn't particularly greedy, there was plenty of money in each position. Although they had long known that there would be a mistress entering the Wangfu, when the day came, they were still unhappy. They even hoped that Jingwan would be jinxed by the Wangfu like the previous ones. However, this woman's life was too hard. She had been engaged for half a year and then firmly married into the Wangfu. If this mistress's temperament was generous, it would be fine. If she was strict or even mean, their good days would come to an end. After all, the Wangfu had brought her dowry, and someone had to give up their position for them. Placing their own people in various positions in the husband's family was something that every mistress would do. It was also helpful for them to gain a firm foothold in the husband's family. All these made them nervous, but they didn't dare to show the slightest negative emotion on their faces, let alone whispering to the mistress. It was true that they had been in the Wangfu for a long time, but they didn't have any affection for Li Hongyuan. Therefore, they didn't dare to act rashly in front of the Wangfu. More importantly, the chief steward had already warned them. When they heard a slight noise, everyone knew that the mistress had arrived. They became more respectful. Out of the corner of their eyes, they saw that there were 6 or 7 people following behind her, slightly fluttering clothes. Jingwan sat down at the head of the table and said a few words. The general idea was that they were all in the Wangfu, and in the future, they would be conscientious and do their jobs well. If they did well, they would be rewarded, and if they didn't, they would be punished. Jingwan's voice was neither soft nor heavy, and her words were not harsh either. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief in their hearts. I won't refer to you one by one according to the roster. Come one by one, say your names, and tell me which department you're in charge of. I'll get familiar with you first. Your Highness, I'm Mu-un, the chief steward of the Wangfu. Eunuch Mu, who was standing by the side, was the first to step forward. He was as respectful as he could be, and even a little flattering. Jingwan saw his fawning look the most clearly and was rather speechless. Speaking of which, this person was still very normal in front of his master and looked like a shrewd person. Why was his style different when he was with her? However, the others were awestruck. Eunuch Mu was the most proud person of the prince, and all the servants in the Wangfu respected him. However, his attitude toward the princess showed the prince's attitude to a certain extent. At this moment, they put away all their thoughts. The second master of the prince's mansion was at the same level as the prince. No, for them, her status was even higher. After all, the prince didn't care about anything, but the princess could often see him. If they accidentally offended the princess or did something wrong, their fate could be changed with a word. Therefore, the people behind became more and more respectful, and those who were eloquent did not forget to compliment Jingwan. Jingwan also knew the reason. Although she was a little speechless about Mu-un, he really saved her a lot of trouble. Jingwan listened quietly. In the end, 3 people walked out from corner. These 3 people were clearly different from the others. There were 2 women and 1 man. One of the women looked to be in her 30s, and the other 2 were even younger, in their early 20s. However, these 3 men were handsome and beautiful. They were very good-looking. Because they came forward, the others retreated with disdain. However, there were also the stewards of the outer courtyard who glanced at the 2 women with lustful eyes. And when they faced Jingwan, they were even more nervous and perturbed. Even if the older one looked calm on the surface, one could still see her uneasiness if one looked closely. This servant is Qiaonyang, in charge of the prince's mansion's performers. This servant is Yin, in charge of the prince's mansion's female troop. This servant is Qing Yi, in charge of the prince's mansion's male troop. Jingwan immediately understood. No wonder it was like this. Probably no woman would like the fox spirit raised by her own husband. Especially with Jin Xinhuang's reputation, he ate both men and women. It was natural for these people to be worried that the new mistress would flare up. It sounded like these people were someone's harem. How many people are you in charge of? https://11/11/11807/6653383. Chapter 245. Xiaonyang answered very quickly. She had more than 30 people under her. Jingwan was interested and asked a few more questions. Then, she found out what she wanted to know. Most of them were multi-talented, and some of them were particularly outstanding in a certain aspect. For example, they had a golden voice, or they had an extremely enchanting and charming figure as they danced. Another example was that their attainments in a certain musical instrument were at the level of a great master. Jingwan propped up her chin and was quite interested. Thinking about it, she knew that those who could stay in Jin Xinhuang Fu, their appearance was probably not bad. Perhaps all of them were more beautiful than Jingwan. If these people were placed in her previous life, 9 out of 10 of them would have been praised as goddesses. However, in this place, not only were they reduced to the lowest of the low, they were even playthings that others could play with. Their fates were completely out of their control. Thinking of this, Jingwan's interest also faded. If they were well-behaved, she didn't mind raising a group of idlers. As for Li Honyuan, to be honest, if a man wanted to cheat, it wasn't something that you could control or prevent, especially when male power reigned supreme. Saying one more word could be seen as jealousy and become a reason for being abandoned. So why bother? However, some words should be appropriately mentioned. For some men, feelings and bodies were separated. His love for you is not fake, but he also didn't think that there was anything wrong with sleeping with other women. Therefore, she should let him know her own position and thoughts. What choice he would make in the end, it was entirely up to him. Then, she would also know whether she should wholeheartedly manage this marriage and even their feelings, or be a pure, virtuous wife and loving mother. From now on, they were like strangers. Although they didn't dare to stare straight at Jingwan, the people below still carefully observed Jingwan's expression. Obviously, Jingwan's change in expression made them think crookedly and naturally became more uneasy. Most of the people who stayed in Jin Xinhuang Fu thought that this was a good place to return to. Jin Xinhuang was often elusive and would occasionally appear to admire a dance, listen to a song, or listen to 1 or 2 plays. There was nothing else. The rumor that there was a flute every night was a joke. Jin Xinhuang did take 1 or 2 people with him and then heard how they were favored. But after a few days, there was no news. Those who had crooked thoughts and leaned on him didn't have a good ending. Gradually, they also understood that being well-behaved and honest, doing what they should do, then they could settle down and live their lives. Moreover, in Jin Xinhuang Fu, no one made things difficult for them. In the eyes of outsiders, Jin Xinhuang was malicious and ruthless, with unpredictable moods, but in their eyes, Jin Xinhuang was a good master. He didn't deliberately do anything, but protected them. Therefore, they really didn't want to be driven out. Jingwan didn't ask about the theatrical troupe anymore. However, since there was a distinction between men and women, then there shouldn't be any confusion. Jingwan nodded, indicating that she understood and let them retreat to one side for the time being. Then Jingwan understood the situation in all aspects and pondered for a moment. Like this, you can send the account books for nearly a year later to the main courtyard. Both the open and the dark account books will be together. When these words came out, there was a small commotion below. Wang Fei, how can this account book be open and dark? Jingwan took a look. That was the steward who was in charge of the kitchen. Before, there was only one master in the Wang Fu, Li Honyuan. The things he ate had a special channel. In this aspect, the purchasing steward couldn't scrape any profit. But don't forget, there were hundreds of people in the Wang Fu. Someone like Muin, who served the master closely, was not worse than other people's masters. His piece was really very fat. If he didn't speak so hoarsely, maybe he would be more credible. I just want to have a look. I'm not going to do anything. If you really don't have any secret accounts, then forget it. Just take whatever you have. Jingwan said softly and took another sip of tea. However, these stewards' hearts were beating like drums. She had said so and given them a choice, but who knew if she was speaking the truth or being sarcastic? If they did not do as she wished, perhaps she would use this opportunity to remove them and replace them with her own position. This Wang Fei was a bit too powerful. But how could they take out the secret counts? Eunuch Mu stared at these people with unkind eyes. They didn't know what was good for them. They just did whatever the Wang Fei said. They were really too relaxed. They didn't even know their names. They really needed to be taught. Jingwan reached out and gently knocked on the small square table next to her. She glanced at Eunuch Mu lightly. Eunuch Mu hurriedly restrained his expression and pretended to say, "Your Highness, I'm very honest and well-behaved. You don't have to do everything by yourself. Just give the order. However, I'll say the ugly words first. If anyone gets into trouble, the higher-ups will be punished as well. The punishment will be doubled for the higher-ups and quadrupled for the higher-ups. You can't do it more than 3 times. If you do it more than 3 times, you'll lose your job. If you want to be promoted again, you'll have to compete with your own ability. Of course, it's a healthy competition. If you want to play tricks, it's fine. However, you have to be prepared to be kicked out of the prince's mansion once you're found out." This time, everyone was shocked. "Your Highness, this is against the rules." Eunuch Mu wanted to stand up, but he immediately restrained himself. Who was His Highness that she still needed his support? It was simply a joke. Maybe Master would cut him to death later. "I don't care about the previous rules. From now on, the big and small matters of Jinxin Wang Fu are the rules. Do you have any objections?" Since a certain someone had handed over the prince's mansion to her to manage, it was natural to follow her rules. She had already said this. What objections could they have? Even if they had to hold it in. Jingwan nodded and continued to speak. "After a few days, I will figure out the situation of the prince's mansion. I will probably set up 2 deputies for each steward. You can also consider it yourselves. As long as you have the ability, you won't stick to one pattern. Deputy, no matter what they did, they could be an assistant, but naturally, they could also be a constraint. To put it bluntly, it was probably a check and balance." This time, they didn't dare to say anything. They all said that a new broom sweeps clean, but this fire burned too fiercely. The last point, you can only stay in your position for a year. After a year, you can choose again. It's up to you to choose. Whether you continue to sit in your position or be overthrown by others, it will all depend on your own ability. This time, each and every one of them were smashed until they saw stars. "So, Wan, are you still not done?" Li Hongyuan's arrival made everyone hurriedly greet him, but Li Hongyuan simply ignored them. Jingwan tilted her head and got up. "Why did Wang yet come?" Li Hongyuan pulled Jingwan's hand. "Ben Wang hasn't seen you come back for a long time, so Ben Wang came to see. Is the matter very troublesome? Just throw it to them. There's no need to personally attend to everything. If they can't do a small thing well, just change them. It doesn't matter if there are more people in the prince's mansion, but if they can't share Master's burdens, there's no need for them to exist." Jingwan's words made them worry, but Li Hongyuan directly made them keep quiet out of fear. "If you don't like these people, you can just replace them with your dowry. It's not that serious. Moreover, with just this concubine's few people, it's not enough to split one person in half. They're all old people in the prince's mansion and are familiar with everything in the prince's mansion. If they were all changed, wouldn't it be a mess? Besides, there's no wrong here. How can you casually dismiss people? In Wang Ye's eyes, this concubine is a nepotistic and unreasonable person. Jingwan knew that he had her back, so she was naturally very cooperative. Li Hongyuan reached out and pinched the tip of her nose. "You really don't have a conscience, treating my good intentions as ill intent. Who is this prince doing this for?" It seemed like he was reprimanding her, but his tone and actions were exceptionally intimate. They had never seen Li Hongyuan like this before. It could be seen that Wang Fei had a high position in his heart. Didn't Wang Ye say that he would leave all the big and small matters of the prince's mansion to this concubine? Yes, 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 I'll leave it all to you. You have the final say in everything. Jingwan smiled and then said to the people below, let's end it here for today. Send the account books to the main courtyard as soon as possible. You can disperse. What should be said had been said. Smart people should know what she meant, so there was no need for unnecessary nonsense. On the contrary, Li Hanyuan directly pulled Jingwan away. Now that there was nothing to do, he just took her to stroll around the courtyard. Although she hadn't walked around carefully, Jingwan could roughly see that there were many courtyards in Jinwangfu, but there were fewer houses built. It was full of corridors and pavilions, flowers and trees, mountains and rivers. The courtyards weren't separated by mud. It was simply a large garden. The layout was beautiful, the design was exquisite, and nothing more beautiful. When there was nothing to do, there were many places to spend time in this mansion. The prince's mansion is built in a unique style and is not the same as other manors. Jingwan's eyes were full of admiration. Like it? And I like it very much. Li Hanyuan hooked his lips into a smile, with a bit of pride. I designed it. I couldn't tell that Wang Ye has this ability. Jingwan pretended to be surprised. TSK, is it true? That's because I feel that Wang Ye is omnipotent, so it's not strange to do anything. Is this little mouth, smeared with honey today, so sweet? Let Ben Wang have a taste. Li Hanyuan made a gesture to kiss her. Hey! Jingwan smiled and pushed him away. Where is the theater in the mansion? Li Hanyuan glanced at Jingwan. She didn't hide her thoughts at all, so Li Hanyuan naturally saw through it. I'm raising it for fun. In the future, it will relieve your boredom. If you want to keep it, then keep it. If you don't want to keep it, then send it away. Yuan, I'm not a magnanimous person, Jingwan said seriously. https://11/11807/665336. Chapter 246. Seeing that Jingwan was so serious, Li Hanyuan had a smile in his eyes and stroked her hair, as if he didn't care and didn't care. I know, little vinegar jar, he said perfunctorily. Did he care or not care? Did he understand or not? Jingwan smiled and did not say anything else. She did not say anything more. It would be boring to say anything more. She would get tired of it, and it would be annoying. A lot of things were not based on the current promise nor the current attitude. It was really based on the future performance. Therefore, Jingwan didn't feel that he was being irreverent at this time. In fact, Li Hanyuan also knew Jingwan's mentality. Sweet words didn't have any use on her. Otherwise, she would have said a lot of things. For such a rational person like her to be able to express her attitude just a few days after getting married was already very rare. However, it was far from enough. Li Hanyuan took Jingwan to leisurely stroll around the garden. Then, Jingwan found a lot of precious flowers and trees. As he said, the 4 famous peonies were better than sun yellens. It seemed that the time for transplanting was still not over, not to mention the others, chrysanthemums, plum trees, camellias, orchids, and so on. Of course, she hadn't seen most of them yet, but according to the degree of extravagance of the living king of hell, would they be bad? To be honest, Jingwan estimated that the entire capital's famous plants added together might not be as many as he had. It's no wonder. When we were in Duke Dingwa's mansion, I saw that you cut the flowers skillfully, and the flowers you chose were also good. Your Highness is also a master. It was really a bit unexpected for him to be so leisurely and elegant. Li Hanyuan smiled, but didn't say anything. Some things, after understanding more, even if you don't know, you can learn. When he was the emperor in his previous life, because of his poor health, his temper was naturally not easy to control. When he took care of these things, he could be at peace. It wasn't that he liked it, but that the person in his heart liked it, that's all. After walking around for more than 2 hours, they had only walked around less than half of Jinwangfu. If they really wanted to carefully appraise it, they were afraid that they wouldn't be able to finish in one day. Jinwangfu was so arrogant. On the way back, Jingwan once again looked at the plaque hanging in the main courtyard, Begonia House. It would be a lie to say that she wasn't surprised when she saw it for the first time. Now, Jingwan looked at the man beside her with ridicule. Prince, how lazy must you be to be so casual? She had heard from Qing Shi that this courtyard originally didn't have a name, and it was only put up on the eve of the wedding. Wasn't it just too lazy? Who would have thought that the inscribed board had already existed for several years? When they returned to the main courtyard, Jingwan was informed that all the account books had been sent over. Moreover, they were all in pairs. Jingwan inwardly nodded her head. These people were quite sensible. However, with a master like Li Hongyuan suppressing them, no matter how black their hearts were, she was afraid that they would still leave some leeway. After all, it was fine if the King of Hell didn't bring up the accounts, but once he did, then they would really be crushed into dregs with one foot. Jingwan knew the rules inside, and Li Hongyuan wasn't unclear either. He casually took 2 account books that seemed to be the same and flipped through them. There wasn't much, just a few pages. Then he threw them to the side with a lack of interest. These people's guts are much smaller than I expected. Mingling in Ben Wang's foo, they shouldn't be worse than 4th or 5th rank officials. These are merely 6th or 7th rank officials. Didn't they say that they are loyal to their masters? Ben Wang's servants aren't that good, Many times, Jingwan was speechless towards this person. There was actually a master who disliked the servants he raised for being greedy for too little money. From his point of view, Jin Xinhuang was also considered a big weirdo. She didn't know what those people would think if they knew. Would they be more cautious with their words and actions? Or would they be like a wild beast out of the cage and no longer have any scruples? Jingwan only glanced at Mu Gonggong. This could be considered Jin Xinhuang's #1 lackey. If he used Jin Xinhuang's name to amass wealth, he could definitely live in a mansion and raise beautiful maids. Whether it was in Jingwan's previous life or this life, there were such eunuchs. High position and power, high position and countless wealth. Such people were not rare. Mu Gonggong lowered his eyebrows and restrained his gaze. That he didn't dare to take his master's words seriously. He said that you could do this, but he didn't say that he wouldn't sort you out. The safest thing was that even if you were stupid, cowardly, or even looked down upon, it was still better than being killed one day. He had also received things from others, but it was absolutely not as good as the other Wang Ye's personal attendants. As for ambition, a castrated person having ambition in front of the King of Hell? Master, this servant has accounted for the assets of the Wang Fu. Why don't I bring them all to Wang Fei now? Li Hongyuan nodded. Then Mu Gonggong left in a hurry, as if he was ready to throw away a hot potato. Mu Gonggong left quickly and came back quickly. Naturally, he didn't move things a little bit, but carried them by the boxes. Regardless of the volume, Mu Gonggong was very attentive and showed the general outline to Jingwan. Jingwan took a thick account book and flipped through it with interest. The more she flipped, the more frightened she became. She looked at Li Hongyuan as if she was looking at a monster. Good boy. She really wanted to pull her good husband over and ask him, "Did you move the National Treasury?" That was what Jingwan thought, so she asked, "National Treasury? Troublesome. Sooner or later, it would be his." He didn't have the leisure to move things around and spend time doing accounts. As for the things that were now misappropriated, he didn't care. How much was misappropriated today? He would return it back 10 times or 100 times tomorrow. This is the property of the Wang Fu. Ben Wang should have a private property. Aren't these your private property? Before Wan gets married, your private property is equal to the Luo family's property. Li Hongyuan looked as if he was saying, Wan, why did you become stupid? If you really move all the Luo family's property, Luo Shangshu will kill me. How can it be the same? You're the only master in the Wang Fu. What's the difference between private property and public property? Now, there are 2 of us. These belong to the 2 of us. See, this is the difference. Jingwan was so angry that she lost her temper. She said with a faint smile, "Your Highness, do you mean that you're still going to hide a small treasury in the future? Do you have the honor of seeing His Highness's little treasury? Here it is, Your Highness." Mu Gonggong hurriedly handed over a small box. He sold out his master completely without a second word. What a good dog talent. Jingwan looked at Li Hongyuan mockingly. Li Hongyuan glanced at Mu Gonggong, as if he was looking at a bastard who lived off his master while helping others. But Mu Gonggong didn't tremble at all at this moment. His back was straight, and he was very magnanimous. Jingwan also knew that without Li Hongyuan's tacit approval, how could he, a close attendant, brazenly fawn on the Wang Fei who had just married into the family, and act as if he was putting her first? Under normal circumstances, she should be the one fawning on Mu Gonggong. Jingwan stared at it for a moment, and then looked back at Li Hongyuan, who was calm. Finally, she reached out to take it. To Jingwan and Li Hongyuan, it was not a matter of money, but a matter of attitude. Li Hongyuan had expressed his attitude, so Jingwan should also express her attitude. If she refused, it was equivalent to refusing his kindness. Jingwan took the thing, but didn't open it. She put it aside. Mu Gonggong has worked hard. I'll slowly look at it later. Mu Gonggong quivered. Wang Fei is overpraising this servant. I can't accept Wang Fei's Gonggong. Forget it before. She basically called him directly. But now, if he dared to respond, he probably wouldn't need to see the sun tomorrow. Wan, yours, master. Li Hongyuan pulled Jingwan into a bad situation. I've already told you, you and Ben Wang have the same honor. You can naturally order my people around at will. These words were said easily. How could it be so simple? However, these words really made people very happy. An invitation was handed in from the gatehouse. It was sent by Rui Wang Fei. The general idea was that Jinxin Wang Fu finally welcomed a female master. On the day of the wedding, it was the first time she entered Jinxin Wang Fu. She was very fond of the scenery of the Wang Fu, but she was in a hurry, so she thickened her face and wanted a visit, asking for permission and so on. Li Hongyuan threw the invitation aside. Those who are not family will not enter the same door. Did it mean that Lu Wang Fei and Rui Wang Fei were the same kind of people? Since they want to show some people the respect of brothers and sisters-in-law are harmonious, what's the harm in fulfilling their wish? Wan, we have so many good craftsmen, you shouldn't enjoy them alone. Li Hongyuan said with a light smile. Jingwan rolled her eyes. Prince, before you get married, it is indeed inconvenient for you to receive guests in the Fu. So, isn't it bad for Rui Wang Fei and Lu Wang Fei? You should invite all the brothers in your Fu. Since you want to share, the more the better. Li Hongyuan raised his eyebrows. Wan is very right. Jingwan turned back and wrote an invitation. She ordered that there would be a banquet tomorrow. She believed that those who received the invitation would come. It was the first time. Unless they really couldn't stand up, if they didn't give face, it would be hard to explain to the emperor. As expected, all the families replied to the invitation very quickly, saying that they would come early. Jingwan only needed to give orders for these things. She didn't need to do other things by herself. On this day, not long after lunch, other people came one after another. The first ones to come were Rui Wang Fei and Lu Wang Fei. Jingwan and Li Hongyuan greeted them separately. However, Jingwan saw a very unexpected person beside Lu Wang Fei. What did one do with Luo Jingying? https:///11/11807/6653388. Chapter 247. They were from the same family, and Luo Jingying had an unusual relationship with her. There were only two reasons for her to bring Luo Jingying here. Either she wanted to establish a good relationship with her, or she wanted to humiliate Luo Jingying to put her in her place. The latter was not likely, unless Prince Rui was out of his mind. But establishing a good relationship? When they were in the summer palace, they should have torn each other's faces. How could they establish a good relationship? But since she had brought her here, she could not drive her out. Luo Jingying looked at Jingwan and Princess Lu, who were talking to each other with smiles. The last time they met, Luo Jingying had to bow to Princess Lu. Now, they were on equal footing. Obviously, she had grown a lot taller. Maybe it was because of her marriage, but she seemed to be more radiant than before. Her skin was still so tender and flawless. She still wore no makeup, but even Princess Lu's exquisite makeup was completely overshadowed by her. Not to mention Luo Jingying. When they stood together, no one would treat her as a younger sister if they did not know the truth. Luo Jingying looked much older than Luo Jingying in terms of appearance, eyes, and spirit. 10 years. Haha. Even if Luo Jingying married a terrible man, she could not say that she was not living a good life. But how could such a man be good? Princess Lu and Jingwan talked for a long time before she pulled Luo Jingying to her side. I brought concubine Jingying here today because she really missed her family. Because of her identity, it is not easy for her to see her. I can't take her to other places. But I thought that we were all family today, so I brought her here shamelessly. Don't worry, sister-in-law. Luo Jingying was quite cooperative. She looked at Jingwan with tears in her eyes. Her eyes were full of indescribable longing. Third sister, Luo Jingying really missed her. But there was also jealousy and hatred in her longing. In short, at this moment, she felt that her sworn enemy was very amiable. Maybe at this moment, she really understood what it meant to break the bones but still connect the tendons. She originally thought that even if she died in the backyard of Prince Rui's mansion, she would never see her family again. She had begged Princess Lu to send letters to her mother many times, but in the end, there was no reply. She knew that she had broken her mother's heart. She really didn't care about her anymore, and no one else in the Luo family would care about her. Jingwan saw that Luo Jingying was so miserable, but she didn't feel happy, but she didn't pity her either. After all, they didn't hate each other. Luo Jingying didn't end up like this because she had no choice, nor was she forced by others. It was her own choice. Originally, she could have a good marriage. Neither the Luo family nor she would ruin it. But she was greedy and inexperienced. She couldn't see the situation clearly, so she made a bad result. Jingwan drew a circle on her belly. In fact, her baby was at most 10 days younger than Sun Yijia's baby. But the baby was more than 50 days old, but she didn't hear any news about the birth of a baby in Prince Rui's mansion. Judging from her current appearance, she didn't seem to have given birth to the baby not long ago. In this case, the baby was not born, but died long ago. When she was pregnant, she went to the Luo family excitedly to tell them the good news. But when she died, there was no news from the Luo family at all. Prince Rui really didn't care about the Luo family if there were no benefits. Live a good life after you marry into Prince Rui's mansion. After all, your surname is Luo. These words were for Luo Jingying and Princess Lu. Third sister, Luo Jingying broke down and cried. Tears rolled down one after another. It's my mother's fault. She didn't say that you were better than me when you were born. She didn't want to be better than you, so I had to be better than you in everything. Why did I always go against you? Among all the sisters, I was the evil one. I was the only one who was excluded. I was the only one who was arrogant. I could have lived happily for the rest of my life, but this man is nothing. When you have value, he sweet-talks you, coaxes your heart, and cheats you of your body. When he knows that you have no value, he doesn't know what to do and allows you to be trampled on. Luo Jingying vented hysterically. Maybe she really resented her mother. She took most of the responsibility for raising Luo Jingying to this point. She fell into such a situation. She couldn't cry for help in Prince Rui's mansion. Her mother was so heartless that she refused to see her. No one knew the darkness and despair in her heart. No one helped her. Princess Lu's face was a little dark. She wanted to ask someone to block Luo Jingying's mouth. However, when she caught a glimpse of Jingwan's sullen face, she didn't know what to do. Because they were brothers, they didn't stick to the rules. Now, Li Honyuan came with Li Hongming. The two brothers heard a good show. Prince Rui's expression was wonderful. He was angry and wanted to teach Luo Jingying a lesson. However, he was stopped by Li Honyuan with a faint smile. Prince Rui was filled with resentment, but this was not his territory. It would not look good if he really caused a ruckus. Moreover, he was not a match for this bastard. If they fought, it would be even more humiliating. Prince Rui looked at Luo Jingying coldly. She didn't know what was good for her. He would teach her a lesson when they went back. Jingwan sighed. After all, she was only a 15-year-old girl. In her previous life, she was still a junior high school student. However, she had experienced the abandonment of her family, the abandonment of her lover, and the painful loss of her child. As a woman, all the pain and suffering was nothing more than this. You, third Jiejia, I know that the man really wants is you. It's a pity that he can't even touch within 3 zhang of you. He doesn't have the guts to touch the fiancé of the living king of hell. What dragon and phoenix bearing, heaven's favored son, he's just dog fart. What respect for the wise. He's just a hypocrite. On the outside, he pretends to be gentle and approachable. In reality, he's just a cold-blooded beast. He'll die a horrible death. Ingshirtia, what nonsense are you talking about? Shut up. Princess Lu's face was frighteningly gloomy. Luo Jingying turned back to look at her and smiled sinisterly. What kind of good thing do you think you are? You're just jackalls of the same lair as him. A belly full of thieves and prostitutes. Isn't that what I'm talking about? Someone come, block her mouth for me. Luo Jingying quickly walked to Jingwan's side and grabbed Jingwan's arm. This is Jin Qin Wang Fu, the living king of Hell's Palace. You're all afraid of him. My third Jijia is his wife. More than one of you told me that he's protecting his wife. Who dares to touch me? Be careful that I'll implicate third Jijia. Has the Gongqin Wang and his father-in-law gotten closer again? This was a real threat. Slut, still not letting go of your Jijia. Prince Rue was furious. Luo Jingying looked over. Her face was covered in tears, and her smile was unusually strange. Jin Qin Wang's expression isn't good. Because you're peeping his wife, he might want to dig out your eyes right now, chop you up, and feed you to the dogs. Li Honyuan was indeed overflowing with hostility right now. He looked at Luo Jingying like he was looking at a dead person. But he didn't come over, and Prince Rue, who was standing next to him, inexplicably didn't dare to move. Prince Rue was about to explode. From birth to now, even if he'd been punished by Li Honyuan countless times, he'd never been pointed at and humiliated like this before. Moreover, it was his woman, a woman that he completely held in the palm of his hand. What's so special about her? She's just a coward, a coward. She seemed to think of something and started to giggle with a bit of madness. Isn't she just a coward? Enough, don't say any more. Jingwan frowned and interrupted her. Although Luo Jingying was holding on to her, Jingwan could feel that she was limp and didn't have any strength. She didn't have the slightest intention of hurting her, so when Luo Jingying got close, she stopped Hei Mei, who was about to make a move. There was something very wrong with Luo Jingying today. Her words were practically pushing her to her death. Death! Jingwan's heart was beating wildly. She stared at Luo Jingying. Third sister, do I look ugly right now? She wiped her face with a handkerchief. Her makeup was smudged, and she looked like a ghost. Jingwan's lips moved. Luo Jingying smiled gently at Jingwan. Then, she suddenly let go and crashed into the rockery next to her. Even though Jingwan already thought that Luo Jingying might try to kill herself, she didn't expect it to be so quick and decisive. No one had the time to stop her. Fourth sister, Jingwan's pupils shrank, and she hurriedly ran over. https:///11/11807/6653392. Mobile Edition. Chapter 248. Jingwan hurriedly helped Luo Jingying up from the ground and pressed a handkerchief against her bleeding forehead. Call the doctor, quickly. You silly girl, why can't we talk things out? Why do one die? Luo Jingying leaned into Jingwan's arms, as if she couldn't feel the pain at all. Her eyes were lifeless as she said weakly, "But I can't live anymore. I have nothing left. You don't want me anymore. That place is not a place for humans. It's a den of demons. Even a maid who sweeps the floor can bully me. I miss you and miss you every day, but none of you come to see me." Her tears fell down. It's my fault. Live well. I'll visit you often in the future, okay? Seeing her like this, Jingwan's heart softened. She couldn't remain indifferent. It's okay even if you quarrel with me. You can't win an argument against me anyway. You're the one who gets angry every time. Luo Jingying forced a smile. Yes, I'm the one who finds fault with you every time. In the end, I'm the one who suffers. I've always thought that you're the worst person in the world, the most annoying person. In fact, you're not wrong. Yes. Whatever you say. When you get better, you can say whatever you want. Where's the doctor? Why isn't he here yet? Jingwan found that her hands were getting weaker and weaker. Her pupils were dilating and her limbs were twitching slightly. Her attention was also starting to wander. Fourth sister, look at me. Don't sleep, before I die. I can die in peace if I can win you once. You won't die. You won't. Hang in there, hang in there. Jingwan was anxious and helpless as she faced a life that was gradually fading away. Fourth sister, third sister, are you going to cry? Luo Jingying seemed to have discovered something strange. You're really soft-hearted. If I were you and saw this situation, I would probably clap my hands in joy. It's worth it. I'm worth it too. Third sister, I'm so sleepy. Fourth sister, don't sleep. Don't sleep. Wang Fei, why don't we carry concubine Ying into the room first? No. Third sister, I feel terrible. If I move, I'll feel even worse. Talk to me. All right, we'll do as you say. Tell me what you want to say. I hate it when people call me concubining. So annoying. Well, don't call me that. No one is allowed to call me that in the future. Whoever dares to call me that, I'll help you deal with him. Jingwan promised her. The others didn't think much of it, but Prince Rui and Princess Lu had already followed the people who served them. Their expressions were interesting. However, with Li Hongyuan, this living king of hell, keeping them in check, even Prince Rui didn't dare to say anything. Just because he was peeking at his wife, Prince Rui's anger hadn't subsided yet. If he really did something, it might add fuel to the fire. Prince Rui couldn't wait for Luo Jingying to die. Although what she said had no evidence, if it spread out, it would have a great impact on him. His other brothers would definitely use this to make a big fuss. He only hated himself for believing Luo Jingying's words. Why did he believe that she would try her best to restore her relationship with Luo Jingwan and pull the Luo family closer to her? In the end, this bitch dared to do such a thing. She really deserved to be torn into pieces. In Prince Rui's eyes, Luo Jingying was his woman. Her life and death, honor and disgrace were all up to him. She was completely under his control. Just like the other women in his harem, they could fight and fight internally, but they would naturally unite against outsiders. Therefore, when she said that she wanted to restore her relationship with the Luo family, he didn't think there was anything wrong with it. It was just a means to fight for favor, and it was also beneficial to him. Why not? When he came out, he was just a little gentler to her, and she looked like she was infatuated with him again. Therefore, he was so conceited that he thought that women were like this. But even so, he was always fighting the eagle, and the eagle pecked his eyes instead. These men never knew how crazy a woman could be when she took revenge. When she had nothing, she would hate you to death. How could she still protect your face? How arrogant and conceited a man must be to maintain this kind of naive thinking. Male power and imperial power were supreme. Did they think that women had no ability to resist at all? It was fine if she was a helpless woman, but wasn't Luo Jingying, third sister, the child died on the day of your hairpin ceremony? They sent people to boast about how grand your hairpin ceremony was. They knew that I hated you the most, so they deliberately provoked me. My child had already grown up. In the end, the one that belonged to me was gone just like that. But it's good that he's gone. If he was born, I might not be able to protect him. But even a vicious tiger doesn't eat its cubs. He doesn't have a son yet. So how could he do such a thing? Tell me, is he an idiot or something? Bitch, Li Hongming couldn't bear it anymore. He wanted to rush up and strangle Luo Jingying directly. Li Hongyuan stretched out his leg to stop him. Then he swept his hand across and grabbed his neck. Then he turned around and went behind him. He pinned his one arm behind his back and kicked his knee. Li Hongming knelt on one knee, and his head almost hit the ground. Princess Lu was so shocked that she jumped up, but she could only watch helplessly and didn't dare to step forward. At this moment, several other people were led in by Eunuch Mu. When they saw this scene, they were very surprised. As for those who had a grudge against Li Hongming, they were particularly delighted in his misfortune. No matter how they fought with each other in other aspects, it didn't matter. But when they rolled up their sleeves, it was basically the case before the age of 16. After the age of 16, They had suffered a few losses in the hands of Li Hongyuan, but they were only kicked once or twice. They had never been forced to kneel on the ground like this. This was not just a matter of losing face. It was a great shame. Li Hongyuan, Prince Rui, couldn't restrain his anger. Luo Jingying's head hurt, and she was dizzy. She began to lose consciousness. However, she seemed to feel Li Hongming's anger. She giggled, "What a coward. Sure enough, I'm too stupid. How could I be bewitched by this man's appearance? Sure enough, I shouldn't be too greedy. It's even more stupid to climb up the social ladder." Jingwan only felt that every minute and every second was unbearable. Why hadn't the doctor arrived yet? "Third sister, I beg you. I beg you, go ahead. Go ahead. I want to go home. I want to go back to the Luo family. I don't want to have anything to do with that man. Otherwise, I won't die in peace. I won't die in peace. Okay. We'll ask him to write a letter of release. Then I'll send you home. I'll send you back to the Luo family. Thank you, third sister. Thank you. Thank you. Before I die, I can still see my family. I'm very happy. Really very happy. Fourth sister, don't die. Wait until you return to the Luo family. I'll help you with your coming-of-age ceremony. I'll find a good family for you. You'll still have your own children. Believe me, believe me." Fourth sister, Luo Jingying's lips squirmed. She opened her mouth, but it seemed that she couldn't speak. Her eyes slowly closed, but tears still rolled down from the corners of her eyes. "Wang Fei, the food doctor is here. The food doctor is here." That food doctor looked younger than the one from the Luo family, but he was also in his early 50s. Speaking of which, Jin Xinwang Fu's territory was large. However, more than 90% of it was occupied by Li Hongyuan, this tyrant dragon. The others lived in relatively remote areas. They couldn't destroy the layout of the Wang Fu because of where these people lived. Therefore, even if the food doctor received the news and came over, he still didn't care about his image and wasted a lot of time. When the food doctor took her pulse, his heart thumped. "Quick, send her back to the room. Lao Fu will perform acupuncture for her." This time, the servant maids didn't delay any longer. They hurried forward and sent Luo Jingying back to the room. It was unknown if it was because her legs were numb, but Jingwan, who was originally half-squatting, sat on the ground instead. She seemed to have lost her soul. Li Hongyuan pushed Li Hongming away. "Get out of the way." He shouted at the servant maids who wanted to help Jingwan up and reached out to wrap her up. Jingwan reached out and hugged Li Hongyuan's neck. She buried her head in the side of his neck and said in a muffled voice, "I don't like her. Sometimes, I can't wait for someone to tidy her up. But I didn't want her to die. She was loathsome before, but she didn't really do anything that offended heaven and reason. I really didn't want her to die. Really?" Li Hongyuan didn't know what to say at this time. Back then, he was also involved in sending Luo Jingying to Prince Rui's estate. Even now, if Luo Jingying died, then so be it. He didn't want to see Jingwan sad. "Ah Yuan, put me down." Li Hongyuan did as she said. Jingwan steadied herself and looked at Prince Rui. "Prince Rui, let concubine write. Today's matter is over. I don't want to write. https:///11/11807/6653394. Chapter 249. Jingwan's implied meaning was obvious. If he didn't write it, it would mean that he had completely fallen out with the Luo family. Then, he shouldn't blame the Luo family for helping others to suppress him. It was an obvious threat. One could imagine how ugly Prince Rui's expression was. First, he was exposed by his own concubine and was even belittled. Then, he was humiliated by his closest brother and was even seen by his sworn enemy. Now, he was threatened by his sister-in-law to let go of the slut who made him lose face. Li Hongming believed that even a saint wouldn't be able to hold back his anger. He was a prince with power. If he compromised so easily, he wouldn't be able to go out and meet people in the future. Moreover, it was normal for a man to write a divorce letter. It must be because the woman had a problem in some aspect. However, who had ever heard of a prince writing a divorce letter? At most, it would be a sudden death. Everyone knew that it was a disgrace to write a divorce letter. Writing a divorce letter meant that you were afraid of the Yu family. It was your problem as a man. It was the Yu family who forced you to write a divorce letter. Moreover, it was a divorce letter. If you wrote it, you would probably become a laughingstock. Sister-in-law's words are meaningless. Since she has entered this Prince Rue's mansion, she is naturally this prince's woman in life, and this prince's soul in death. Releasing a divorce letter is impossible. Originally, he was extremely angry, but he still leisurely tidied up his sleeves. What an outstanding gentleman. This prince will also advise sister-in-law. Since you are married, you should follow the rules of a married woman. Don't ruin the Luo family's reputation. Return the person to this prince, and this matter will be settled. This prince will also not pursue the matter of you disrespecting your husband's uncles. Otherwise, this prince will find Luo Shangshu to discuss how he taught his descendants. Jingwan looked at him indifferently. Suddenly, she clapped her hands and laughed. Prince Rue is so eloquent. You're even better at reversing black and white. Thinking about it, if you don't have such a glib tongue, how could you coax all the courtiers to be willing to sacrifice their lives for you? How could you deceive all the young ladies to be loyal to you? Perhaps I should ask Imperial Father to seek justice for my younger sister. With just one sentence, he had overthrown all of Li Hongming's hard work and denied all of his talents. Everything he had depended on his mouth. Judging from Jingwan's expression, that was what she meant. If you look for her grandfather, she wouldn't mind looking for your father. Let's see who will be more embarrassed in the end. After knowing the true relationship between Li Hongyuan and noble consort Su, as well as the mask that noble consort Su had put on for her, Jingwan really wasn't afraid. The look on Li Hongming's face was extremely comforting. Should it be said that she was worthy of being the wife of the living king of hell? Her lethality was also very strong. But didn't it also mean that one shouldn't provoke her easily? Otherwise, it might be one's turn next time. Li Hongming was a gentleman. No matter how angry he was, he wouldn't do something as improper as arguing with his younger sister-in-law. Therefore, he naturally shifted the topic to Li Hongyuan. You and I are brothers. We were born from the same root. Sixth brother, you didn't do anything this time. You just watched from the sidelines and indulged your princess consort. You were so rude and damaged the harmony between us brothers. Wouldn't others say that your husband's authority is not enough? You lost face. If Imperial Mother knew, she would be sad. A married woman's mother-in-law was the real killer. Li Honyuan looked at him as if he was an idiot. Imperial Mother is Imperial Mother. You are you. This prince has nothing to do with you. This wife is going to accompany this prince for a lifetime. This prince's brain must be flooded with water to not indulge her and help you instead. Third Imperial Brother, hurry up and write the letter to release your concubine. Then, everything will be fine. Prince Rue was about to explode in anger. The people watching the show couldn't help but laugh out loud. Li Honyuan was right. He respected Imperial Consort Su. He treated this brother no differently than any of his other brothers. If the two of them really quarreled, Imperial Consort Su could only stay out of it. Using Imperial Consort Su to pressure others was really useless. Since that's the case, then there's nothing more to say. Servants, invite Shi Qiang out and send her back to the prince's estate. Luo Jingying's life was currently unknown, but he wanted to take her away by force. He clearly didn't care about her life. Jingwan wanted to kill someone. Li Hongyuan slightly narrowed his eyes. Watch over the Luo estate's fourth miss for this prince. Whoever dares to go in and delay the doctor's treatment will be killed without mercy. His tone was somewhat casual, but no one dared to question his words. What kind of person was the living king of hell? If he said it, then he would do it. And in Li Hongming's view, the last three words were simply directed at him. This was Jin Qin Wang Fu. Even if Li Hongming brought guards, they didn't enter the rear garden. Even if they rushed in, they were just a few kittens, not enough to be dismembered by the people of Jin Qin Wang Fu. People like Prince Rui were all excellent at enduring. The first thing he did was to weigh the pros and cons. He thought of the future. No matter how big the hatred was, it could wait until he ascended the throne. And at this very moment, Li Hongming's thoughts weren't hard to guess. Mu Fei had once said to let him go. Now, including the Luo family, no one should think about living. Li Hongyuan sneered in his heart. He was always self-righteous. On what basis did he think that he would be the final winner? As the saying goes, if you don't take revenge, you may not have the chance to do so in the future. You don't even have the ability to do so. With that power, you should take revenge now. If you hold it in too much, you're not afraid of holding it in until you break. If sixth brother likes it, then leave it for sixth brother. Sister sharing a husband is also a good story. Let's go. Prince Rue, I won't write the letter of releasing concubines today. I'll go to the palace in a while and ask Imperial Father to judge. Jing once said coldly. At this moment, Li Hongming naturally didn't have a good expression. Luo Jingying has been in Prince Rue's mansion for so long, but your Luo family didn't care about it. Now you have the reason to argue with this prince? Do you really think this prince has no temper? If you want to go to the palace, fine, this prince will go with you. I'll also call Luo Shangshu. I'd like to see what you have to force this prince to write the letter of releasing concubines. Jingwan was also very clear that this kind of face-slapping matter would not end well in front of Lu Qingdi. As a father, it was impossible for him to protect his daughter-in-law. In fact, in the eyes of some men, only children with their own bloodline were relatives. Women, even if they were married, were outsiders. However, this was on the premise that Li Hongming didn't do those disgusting things. Even if she couldn't get anything out of it, she could still ruin his reputation. Don't care about it, Jingwan sneered. Indeed, to avoid suspicion, the Luo family doesn't want to have anything to do with you, Prince Rue. What else can it be? A little girl just over 14 years old, arrogant, young, and ignorant. Prince Rue wanted to use the Luo family for you, so he cheated her of her body and made her pregnant. If not, you want to take her as a concubine? You're dreaming. Could it be that the Luo family's daughter can't get married and has to be degraded to be your concubine? Since she has entered Prince Rue's mansion, our Luo family will accept it. If you have a little conscience and humanity, even if you don't really like her, you shouldn't abuse her. Your mansion can't afford to raise an idle person, not to mention she is pregnant with your child. Even a vicious tiger won't eat its cubs. Speaking of which, he is just a beast. Prince Rue, worse than a beast. More than one person silently said Jingwan's unfinished words in their hearts. You, what? You don't want to admit it? Or do you want to say that my fourth sister seduced you? How old are you? How old is she? What have you experienced? What has she experienced? What is your identity? What is her identity? If you don't cross the line, can she get close to you? A real man should dare to take responsibility for his actions. Don't push everything to women. Otherwise, you're not a man. I'm really curious. How many women in the backyard of Prince Rue's mansion were coaxed by Prince Rue with sweet words and promises of eternal love? Jingwan looked at Princess Lu with a deep meaning. If this was how the official princess consort came about, it would be a big joke. Everyone knew that this was impossible. However, there were too many people who liked to gossip, who liked to echo the opinions of others. Public opinion could melt gold, accumulating to destroy the bones. If they really wanted to splash dirty water on you, when there were many enemies, they would definitely kill you. Once this point was confirmed, Rue Qin Wang's reputation would definitely be worse than Jin Qin Wang's. Sister-in-law, please be careful with your words. Princess Lu endured the humiliation and said. Jingwan squatted. Sister-in-law, please advise me. If you say I'm wrong, fine. You point it out and I'll change. Princess Lu almost fainted from anger. Good. The Luo family really raised a good daughter. Prince Rue almost gnashed his teeth and said, You slandered Ben Wang like this. Aren't you also ruining Luo Jingying's reputation? What good will it do to the Luo family? She has already committed suicide. What reputation does she still want? Sometimes, death could wash away the stain on one's name. Even though Luo Jingying had gotten pregnant out of wedlock and ruined her reputation, she had already paid the price with her life. She was not a heinous person. Would she still be dragged out and humiliated after her death? How big of an impact would it have on the Luo family? Obviously, no matter whether Luo Jingying could survive or not, Jingwan had already thought of a way out for her, death. In fact, This was also to save Prince Rue's face. It was better not to have a deep hatred for such an enemy. She was not afraid of him. However, she didn't care. But the Luo family might be in trouble, especially her grandfather. He would inevitably suffer when facing the attacks of Prince Rue's family. Prince Rue probably understood Jingwan's meaning now. He looked at her deeply. My sixth brother really married a good wife. In fact, as long as there was a slight possibility, Prince Rue didn't want to completely fall out with Luo Peishan. Even if he couldn't use her, he couldn't make her his enemy. Third brother, you don't need to tell me this. Why don't you give me the writing brush, ink, paper, and inkstone? Li Hongming was full of haste. He quickly wrote the concubine's letter. During the whole process, the blue veins on the back of his hand were about to burst. When he finished, he threw the writing brush away. If there are rumors outside that shouldn't be, it's up to me. Even if I use the Ministry of Justice, the Supreme Court, and the government, I will investigate the source of the rumors. Li Hongyuan said lightly. This was a warning to the other brothers. Li Hongming turned around and left. Seeing the gloating brothers, he shouted, "Get out!" At this time, even Prince Kong didn't want to provoke him. Princess Lu took one last look at Jingwan and left without saying anything. However, Jingwan didn't see pure hatred in her eyes. Instead, there was a kind of indescribable complexity. Jingwan picked up the concubine's letter and looked at it. There was no problem. She turned back. Prince, sorry for the delay. Li Hongyuan nodded and asked the other brothers to go in. https://11/11/6653395 Mobile Edition. Chapter 250. It was reasonable to say that after today's incident, everyone should return to their own homes. However, the King of Hell had already invited them in. If they still found an excuse to leave, were they deliberately not giving him face? Or deliberately not giving him face? The King of Hell had already caused them all kinds of pain. Now, there was the King of Hell's consort whose fighting prowess was off the charts. She clearly looked gentle, dignified, and easy to get along with, but she forced the most powerful of the brothers to write a letter to let her go. Although it couldn't be publicized, it was enough for them to laugh at Li Hongming for several years. Therefore, they all pretended to be deaf and dumb, as if nothing had happened. Because of Luo Jingying, Jingwan temporarily couldn't entertain the sisters-in-law. Naturally, only Gong Mama could take care of it. And Li Hongyuan was a willful master. Now that he wanted to follow his wife, he didn't have time to take care of others. Therefore, it was Gong Gong Mu Mu who took care of it. Whether it was those Wang Ye or those Wang Fei, they all silently ridiculed in their hearts. Since he didn't have time, just send them away. Why keep them here? Doctor, how is my fourth sister? Jingwan looked at Luo Jingying. Because the makeup on her face had been completely wiped away by the servant girls, her face was deathly pale and abnormally ugly. There was no trace of blood on her lips, and she had already fallen into a coma. But fortunately, although her breath was weak, she was still alive. The doctor hurriedly greeted, Wang Ye, Wang Fei this? For a moment, the doctor didn't know how to address Luo Jingying and braced himself to speak. Foreign. He carefully glanced at Jingwan. Seeing that she didn't have any reaction, he continued to speak, but still with nervousness and apprehension. For the time being, her life is not in danger. It's just that I don't know if she can wake up. This one is incompetent. Jingwan frowned. In fact, she had already expected this situation. It was already fortunate that she didn't die. After all, she was hit so hard that she really had the determination to die. However, this was not her previous life where she could use an intravenous drip to save her life. If she didn't wake up in a few days, she might die. In any case, you have to save her life first. If you need any medicine, just say it. Jin Wangfu must have the herbs that other places didn't have. Yes, I will do my best. It's just that this madam's condition is very bad. Not only does she have a head injury, but she also didn't recuperate well after the miscarriage. She's suffering from a chronic illness, and it's probably because she can't keep up with her diet. Jingwan understood that she was malnourished, but she didn't know if it was her own fault or if Jin Xin Wang Fu treated her harshly in this aspect. Just do your best. She then ordered the maidservants to serve him well and pulled Li Honyuan out. Does Wang Ye have a better doctor? I need time. And Gio had gone out to carry out a mission and wasn't around. Calculating the time, it would take at least 2 more days for him to rush back. As for that white ape roaming doctor, because of an emergency, even though he knew his whereabouts, it would take at least 10 days to half a month for him to come back. Moreover, he didn't think that Luo Jingying was worth him spending so much effort to get a roaming doctor to come back for treatment. How long will it take? 3 days. Li Honyuan seemed a little indifferent. He was narrow-minded and held grudges. If it wasn't for his little sweetheart not wanting Luo Jingying to lose her life, he would have definitely thrown her out. Fourth, Mimi's current condition is special. There's no way to call for an imperial physician to come take a look. No matter, I'll take care of everything. In any case, even if the news is sealed, the people who should know will still know. It wasn't a small matter. For example, his old man, or those women in the harem, they would definitely know. Jingwan was a little hesitant. It won't be easy for you to explain to Gui Fein Yang Yang. It's fine. She won't find me for this matter. But you humiliated her son and made him lose face. She will definitely bear a grudge. I can't fall out with her for the time being, so when you meet her alone, you have to be careful. Although under normal circumstances, no one can stop me, but for Fu Huang, there are times when I still have to give him face. Jingwan nodded, indicating that she understood. Unless she sat on the highest position, she would have some scruples. Don't worry, as long as Gui Fein Yang Yang wants to maintain her image, I will be fine. If she really wants to do something to me, then she can't blame me for peeling off her face. In fact, I don't think she will do anything to me. After all, there are too many eyes in the palace. If I'm not careful, I might leave behind something that can be used against me. On the contrary, she might even use this matter to gain some benefit from grandfather. After all, we were in the wrong when we forced Prince Rue to write the letter of release. This is indeed possible, but I can't be 100% sure. Most likely, it depends on Li Hongming's attitude. If it was the Empress, there is no doubt that she would do what you said. The Empress has never cared about her son. In this aspect, Gui Fei is more humane than the Empress. Li Hongming has never encountered such a humiliating matter. He's probably going to explode from anger. Now, let's see if he can completely endure it. He's never been so humiliated? Wang, you didn't do anything to him? Jingwan was a bit curious, but also a bit teasing. Li Honyuan raised his eyebrows. Gui Fei is my adoptive mother. The mother-son relationship is deep. No matter what, she has to give her own son some face. No matter how she publicly tramples on him, there's a limit. It wasn't that Jing-Wan hadn't heard of this person in front of her. She had thought that he was a little chinibyu, but it turned out that he was just putting on a show for others to see. He was just toying with some people. Speaking of which, this person was only 23 years old. In his previous life, he might have already graduated from university, or he might not have. Most people at this age were still full of little fresh meat. Compared to real little fresh meat, this man was unbelievably mature in all aspects. Shouldn't I be honored by this? After all, we just got married and we broke Wang Ye's record. Indeed, Wan is still the best. The student has surpassed the master. Li Honyuan smiled and pinched her face. Jingwan lightly slapped him. I'm just a fox assuming the majesty of tiger. If I didn't know you were behind me, I wouldn't be able to be tough. No matter what, I can't bring trouble to the Luo family. Although grandfather is the Minister of Personnel, Prince Rue is determined to pull him down. Without anyone's help, grandfather will most likely fall from grace. Don't talk about assuming the majesty of a tiger. Even if the fox climbed on top of the tiger's head and abused him, I'd be happy too. Although it seemed like a joke, Jingwan could feel that he was serious. Jingwan reached out and hugged him. Yuan, thank you. Just a verbal thank you, and that's it. Li Honyuan put his hand around her waist and rubbed his chin on the top of her head. He laughed softly. Jingwan's waist was sensitive and almost went limp. She couldn't help but pinch him. Pervert. She scolded him softly. I've always been a pervert. Wang didn't find out today. Wang, are you going to give me or not? Li Hongyuan pretended to be frivolous and lifted Jingwan's chin. That's enough. If others see this, how can I face others? Who can see it? Who among us doesn't know? Tell me, are you going to give me or not? Yes, yes, yes. Seeing that this shameless person was about to kiss her, Jingwan quickly dodged and reached out to cover his mouth. Then she suddenly retracted her hand because this bastard actually licked her palm. This time, he really pushed her away rudely. Li Hongyuan had achieved his goal. He knew when to stop. If he angered his little sweetheart, he was worried that he wouldn't be able to guarantee his dinner tonight. Jingwan ordered someone to immediately call for an imperial physician. In fact, the medical skills of the physicians in Jin Wangfu were not much worse than those in the imperial hospital. After all, in these aspects, Lu Qingdi was absolutely generous to this son. However, the same medical skills, the direction of specialization may be different. At the same time, someone was sent to the Luo family to inform grandmother of this matter. Whether to directly send Luo Jingying back or directly send him away, they needed to come up with a plan. All that was left was to wait. The husband and wife finally had the time to take care of the guests in the Fu. Jingwan went to the pavilion in the middle of the lake in the rear courtyard. Her sisters-in-law were there to enjoy the singing and dancing performances. In fact, when these Wangfei were brought there, they saw a pool of beauties. Each and every one of them were heavenly beauties. The program that had long been arranged was performed in front of them. The enchanting dance, the singing voice of a lark, the first-rate zither skills. Each and every one of them was a little confused. Were they sure that they didn't get their positions reversed with the men? https://11/11/11/6653398. Chapter 251. After arriving, Jingwan first expressed her apologies and exchanged pleasantries with each other. After sitting down, she ate some snacks and drank flower tea while chatting with her sisters-in-law. Since she had already entered this circle, she naturally had to blend in. At least on the surface, it was necessary to show harmony and friendship. Speaking of which, among the 6 people present, Jingwan was the youngest. However, according to seniority, there were only 2 people in front of her. Needless to say, Princess Consort Kong wasn't even born yet. The second prince was already dead. Princess Consort Lu had already left. As for Princess Consort Gong, she had already suffered losses in Jingwan's hands. She had been repeatedly beaten by her father and aunt. Even if she had resentment in her heart, she could only suppress it. At this moment, she was trying her best to maintain a calm expression. The 5th prince was a sickly invalid who didn't participate in anything. His princess consort was just like Doe. She was amiable to everyone. Needless to say, the last few people didn't have much of a presence. Jingwan was married for the first time, but her aura was not weak at all. Moreover, this was her home ground, so she definitely had the demeanor of the head of the family. In fact, if it were not for the fact that she had no intention of suppressing them, some of them would be too ashamed to show their faces. While smiling sweetly, she had already obtained a lot of information from some trivial matters that she wanted to know. She had no choice. Her husband was ambitious. Even if she could not help him, she could not drag him down. Jingwan was multitasking. She was talking to them while watching the performance. These beauties were really not bad. Of course, they were not just enchanting. Some of them were also imposing and sharp. They were pleasing to the eye. 6th sister-in-law, these beauties have been taken by us. We're the prince and the others. Could there be more beautiful ones? The 10th princess consort smiled. After all, this was what they cared about the most. It was already very good that they could hold back until now to ask. No matter how beautiful they are, they're just this level. The prince and the others are not as lucky as us. They are now listening to a performance, a martial arts performance. Jingwan looked back and winked. She smiled slyly at the 10th princess consort. The 10th princess consort was not the only one who was surprised. 6th sister-in-law, you're really awesome. There were many people who knew about the theatrical troupe and performers that Jin Xin Wang Fu raised, but not many had seen it. However, Li Hongyuan's brothers had more or less seen it before, and every time they would be extremely envious. But what could they do? The living king of hell completely didn't seem to understand their intentions. He was very casual when he sent other beauties, but this time he was very stingy. It wasn't as if she hadn't heard their nagging before coming here. As his wife, she felt bitter in her heart, but she couldn't say a single word. In the end, they didn't see the beauties they were longing for. The beauties from the opera troupe were also nowhere to be seen. A group of men were sitting there watching the martial arts show. Just by imagining it, one could imagine how aggrieved they were. The group of Wang Fei could not help but cover their mouths as they giggled. They could not be blamed for being unkind. It had to be known that this kind of opportunity was too rare. They did not have to worry that they would shamelessly ask the living king of hell for him. Therefore, when they looked at these beauties again, they were not so disgusted. They even whispered to each other and admired them. In fact, some people were indeed very aggrieved at this time and couldn't help but open their mouths. It was too boring. Li Hongyuan was calm and unperturbed. That appearance seemed to be quite attentive. Sixth brother, you're also interested in this kind of thing? The seventh prince expressed his puzzlement. It's pretty good. Anyway, I'm tired of watching other things. It's not bad to occasionally change the taste. You're tired of watching it, but the brothers are very greedy. We're all brothers. You can't play like this. Sixth brother, let's change it. Then he clicked on that decadent sound. No one is singing. Li Hongyuan said very straightforwardly. Your sister-in-law said that no one is serving tea. The person was sent to serve tea. There's only the martial arts show to watch. Just put up with it. He almost spat out a mouthful of old blood. His mother, this was the first time he heard the words put up with it from the living king of hell's mouth. Had he ever put up with it? Who could let him put up with it? But this matter really happened. Because the fifth prince's health was not good, he had always restrained himself when it came to women. Moreover, the doctor told him to guard against arrogance and rashness. He must avoid getting angry by all means. Only then could he live longer. He was purely gathering with his brothers and didn't have any crooked thoughts. At this moment, he was a bit teasing. Old sixth, according to what you said, could it be that those tricks you raised were also taken by your sister-in-law? You're enjoying the dance and listening to music with your wife. Well, this living king of hell was captured by his wife. Everyone was speechless. This living king of hell was going to be captured? Speaking of which, wouldn't it be even more difficult for them to find a place to pass the time in the future? Although it wasn't easy in the past, it was still better than completely cutting off all avenues. Well, the beauties here could only be seen. They couldn't touch or eat them. Because of this, their hearts were even more itchy. They could go to the brothels, but they had to care about their reputation and didn't dare to be too brazen. Moreover, when they saw the beauties in their brother's residence, they always felt that those beauties were vulgar. Therefore, whether it was true or false, they ridiculed him with a few sentences, letting him assert his position as the husband. To be captured by his wife, it was too shameful. Li Hongyuan was completely unconcerned. Not to mention that he would fly into a rage out of humiliation. He seemed to be in a good mood. On Jingwan's side, the sisters-in-law more or less bred some envy and jealousy, but it wasn't serious. They were all too clear about what kind of person Jin Xinhuang was. In the past, just listening to his right and wrong was enough to pass a lot of time. Only then did he marry a wife. She was also delicate and tender. Any man would be fresh for a period of time. What kind of person was Jin Xinhuang? When he pampered someone, he could pamper them to the heavens. After the pampering, seeing that she was his first wife, perhaps he could still leave behind some dignity. However, that was all, nothing more. Sixth sister-in-law, now that you have everything in Jin Xinhuang Fu in your hands, it would be better to send 2 of these beauties to sister-in-law and let sister-in-law bring them back to pass the time. Gongqin Wangfei said with a fake smile. No new wife would touch the beauties raised by her husband. Regardless of whether or not her husband was holding you in the palm of his hand, obedient, when he was in high spirits, naturally nothing was wrong. But once he was tired, everything was wrong. Women who hadn't yet established themselves wouldn't make this kind of mistake. Moreover, entering the door was already like this. A jealous woman, an unvirtuous name, was appropriate. Didn't you want to show off? Fine, I'll see how you continue. Jingwan read this message from Gongqin Wang Fei's eyes. Jingwan smiled. Fourth sister-in-law has taken a fancy to them. It's their fortune. If you like, you can pick 2 more. Gongqin Wang Fei almost fainted from anger. Bringing these foxes back, did she have nothing better to do? However, the one who opened her mouth was her. If she pushed them away now, wouldn't it be slapping her own face? Then many thanks to 6th sister-in-law. It's just this kind of good thing. How can sister-in-law monopolize it? Us sisters-in-law. Everyone should have a share. She didn't know how to be happy, so the others shouldn't think about being happy. Jingwan smiled and nodded. Naturally so. She was still thinking about how to send these people out. It was simply like someone giving her a pillow when she wanted to sleep. She also didn't need to attract hatred. It simply couldn't be more wonderful. The others all had the heart to bite Gongqin Wang Fei to death. This idiot. https:///11/11807/6653401. You're tuning into the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.